And Lee, woo, I want to break this one down. So the Browns will waive the tight end Dae'quan Wright, who has agreed to play for LSU. So Lee, let me just tell people about the historical context here. So the tight end, right? He Mr. Wright, he was on the Browns trying to make the team.
Yep.
And now he will be going back to college football. That has never happened in the National Football League, where somebody who was already on a team in the NFL went back to college in the transfer portal. And that just happened today. So, Lee, as I pull up this flyer, I do want to give my take on that topic. I don't know why I can't find the flyer. So, Lee, I was going to go first there, but I'm actually going to give you the mic while I get everything prepared. Thoughts?
Okay. So with Mr. Wright, he's a tight end, played at LSU. There's 3 other LSU players as well who have signed an NFL contract or in NFL camps that have filed an injunction with the state, and they've got a restraining order allowing them to go back and enter the transfer portal in college football. The reasoning behind it, Leo, just so the audience knows, with the new 5-for-5 rule in college football, you have 5 years to play 5 seasons, to play 5 years from the time you either enter college or at your 19th birthday. That rule was implemented in June, and it goes back. But the players that came out of high school in 2022 and entered college that were seniors this last year, some of them only played 4 years, Leo. And so they're filing a deposition, a restraining order to position for that 1 more year of eligibility. So that's what they're doing. They're coming back. They went to a judge, they filed for the restraining order, and they've given them a temporary injunction for them to play. So that's why Mr. Wright can go back into the transfer portal. And there's actually, in all of the sports in the NCAA that are pros, there's about 100 players that are in this boat across different sports. They're positioning the courts for 1 more year of eligibility. So you're going to have NFL players who came out 2026, 4 years. They want that 5th year. And it doesn't affect, people that have actually played in regular season games 2 or 3 years, but it's those rookies really that are coming in this year. That's who it affects. Now, that's a little historical backdrop for it. Leo, when the university presidents voted for this, they voted not to include players that only played 4 years in college, right? So they said, well, we could go back and give them an extra year, but it would dilute all of the teams or having these guys enter back into the portal. So they didn't include them in the 5-for-5, granting them the extra year. That's where they messed up. They should have allowed those kids, if they wanted to come back into college, to go back in school for that 5th year. So it's 5-for-5. That's why they're in the predicament they're in right now. So is it fair for these guys to do that? I say it is. Not from I don't think they're beating the system. College football changed the rules, or college sports. They changed the rules. I'm going to give you 5-for-5. Remember, other players took advantage of that. They got a red shirt year. They got an injury year. These kids happen to just play 4 years, and it was their senior year this past year, and they couldn't have the 5th year. So for me, hey, I think it's fair game. And those players would have to denounce their contracts with the team that they went to the NFL for, and they can go sign with any team. And Mr. Wright here, he's going to be signing with LSU, of course, with Lane Kiffin. So they're taking advantage of a loophole. It's no different than what teams do, what general managers do, what college coaches do. And the whole fault of this matter is with the NCAA, because they had a chance to grant all of those athletes an extra year, and they would have closed the loophole, Leo, but they didn't.
Yeah. So my thoughts on this is, look, for decades, the NCAA pimped out student athletes and now student athletes are pimping out the NCAA. And another college football loophole, of course, your boy Lane Kiffin exploits it. He finds a loophole to exploit to get talent to his team. This guy, man, this Negro right here, bro.
He played
this
for him at Ole
Negro
Miss
right
last
here.
year. Yep.
I mean, the fact that Dae'Quan is ending up on Lane Kiffin's team adds on to the optics for me, because we already know that Lane Kiffin has been the hub of bad optics and college football controversy, since he made that move to go from Ole Miss to LSU. And then obviously the Jaden Daniels jersey demand scandal, he's happens to be on that team, coaching that team. And then you have this unprecedented move, the first of its kind, with Lane Kiffin on the team. He's already making headlines. All right. And let's not even talk about the career that he had before that. So I did my research, and Lane Kiffin reached out to Todd Monken a week ago in regards to Dae'Quan, which we all know Lane Kiffin will break any rule to get a talent on his team. He'll go through any loophole, any rule. He will sell his soul to add talent to his team. That's just the Lane Kiffin way. And college football allowed the biggest con man in professional sports currently right now to find a loophole that allowed Dae'Quan to go back to college football, and in this case to the LSU Tigers. Now, Lee, you look at the NIL, you look at the revenue sharing, you look at the transfer portal. It has given the player significant power. Now, we looked at countless players, running to sympathetic judges to get an injunction so they can get their way, so they can run away from accountability, so they can run away from reality. Right? They run to these judges. Oh, please protect me. I want another year. And they go and then they get these injunctions. Right? Now, that's why I like the 5-for-5 eligibility rule, the age eligibility rule, because there's an age aspect to it. Not only the 5 years, but I believe it starts 5 years from your high school graduation date or at age 19, whatever came first. And I believe that was the only thing that college football has passed in recent years that actually gave some uniform to the league. But clearly, as you alluded to on that topic that we debated on, that there's still other loopholes. There's still other situations, the transfer portal being one of them. And clearly, it didn't really serve that issue. It just uniformed that particular eligibility issue. But clearly, there's always going to be loopholes. This is another prime example. And unfortunately, the biggest con man in professional sports found that loophole and reached out to him during training camp. And that's just where we are, Lee.
Yeah. You have to look at it like this, Leo. These players that are in the NFL, they're marginal players who may not make the roster. They may get cut next week after next. They may get cut. So they're thinking, look, I can get cut or land on a practice squad and I'm making $90,000 a year, or I can go back to college and make $400,000 or $500,000 a year. This is a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer for guys that are marginal players. Mr. Wright was playing at Cleveland. He hadn't practiced for a couple of weeks, and he was probably going to get cut anyway. So the season is about to start. He's making a business decision to say no. And like you said, your boy Lane Kiffin probably is $250,000, $300,000 to come back, whatever the price is. He's an excellent player, and he improves his draft stock. He improves his draft stock coming into next year even more. So this is a no-brainer for these players that are marginalized, players that are going to make the 53-man roster and are set to go. They're not going to do it. But these guys who, are not they're on the bubble in training camp, and you think, well, wait a minute, there's a loophole where I can get another year of college eligibility.
But the question,
I'm going to take it.
The question with that is, what type of precedent does that set? Because if you look at the players, right, to be honest with you, this right here that Dae'Quan Wright did, he blindsided his head coach. He blindsided his head coach, Todd Monken.
Yeah, but he
blindsided the coach. And on top of that, you have Lane Kiffin that reached out to Todd Monken, so he was already plotting. He
Well,
was already
he was
behind the scenes.
he was going to talk to Monken about it. That's
Yeah,
what
he was already plotting, right? So clearly there had to be some contact for him to even reach the point of reaching out to Tom Monken. He clearly had contacted Dae'Quan, because why else would you reach out to Tom Monken if you didn't have no conversations with Dae'Quan? So my point is, that's the precedent that we are setting here, because now you're going to have players that coaches in college can reach out to that's on that bubble and literally could pull them back into the transfer portal.
No, you won't have it going forward, Leo, because as I explained earlier, this is a special circumstance.
Yeah, because of the 5-for-5, they didn't have it
right. So
that class.
It only affects this
that's why I like it. That's why I believe, and that's why my debate that we had on the 5-for-5 actually proved out to be correct. Because guess what? Now you just ended a loophole. So my point about the 5-for-5 that we debated on actually stood the test of time, because clearly that's why I said it was the best thing that college football has done in the last couple of years, because it prevents a situation like this from happening forward. It happened in the NBA as well. Well, not the NBA, but the professional leagues as well. These basketball players were going back to college. I believe that has to end.
It helps the football and basketball, but it doesn't do well for the other sports because they're on a different time frame and calendar for 5-for-5. This is really focusing on basketball and football. And again, it will help put some uniformity there. But until they get the transfer portal settled, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. You're still going to have people leaving. If they get to the point where you have one, the way they want legislation to go, and you have one transfer, free transfer, and then if you do it a second time, you have to sit out, that will sort of pigeonhole players a little bit more. I don't like it. But that's what they want to get done. But there's nothing wrong with this, in my opinion, because the NCAA had a chance to give them that extra year, and they would have not opened a Pandora's box for the way they look in the public eye with this happening again. But they chose not to do it, Leo. Shame on them.
Yeah, shame on Lane Kiffin for being Lane Kiffin. Okay, like this guy's biggest idiot in professional sports, biggest con man for sure. I mean, I don't even like his face just looking at this dude, bro. You know, like really, like you could just tell somebody who's fake. And I just have a ick when it comes to fake people like Lane Kiffin. But you know what? It is what it is. He's on LSU. He's going to continue to do what he do. College football is going to continue to be college football. There's always going to be loopholes. And college football has changed. And like Ray Blackwell said, it has changed. And it's a totally different league than the league of a couple years ago.
Well, I'll end with this, Leo. The NCAA, college sports, the athletic directors, and the presidents, I said this 3-4 years ago, had an opportunity 5 years ago, Leo, to really right some of the wrongs of the revenue model in college sports. And all those players and their representation, they were seeking, for the players to get a piece of the pie. And they were talking about, $50,000 more in scholarship money that would go directly to the players, so every player could have some spending money to buy a car and all this good stuff. And it would only cost the team. I did the estimates. If you look at an 85-man roster and you give them $50K, you're not spending, but almost $8 million, and these budgets are $140, $150 million in revenue when we finish it out. So the NCAA and these presidents had an opportunity to control this, Leo. They chose to be greedy. They chose to put that money into building new buildings and things of that nature, new science building on the backs of these athletes. And now they're reaping the rewards and paying the piper right now. So I have no sympathy for the NCAA because too long they've exploited these players, and now the players are exploiting them. There's a sweet spot in the middle. And as I've always said, Leo, you're going to have to eventually realize you're going to have to collectively bargain with these college athletes to get this right.
My last point on that is when you talk about the NIL superstar of the modern day coming into a professional setting, obviously there's always going to be pros and cons to everything. But from a standpoint of the players and how they come into the league, a lot of them going to come in entitled. I mean, you see more and more than before through the draft process, the combine, not doing interviews, not participating anymore, more than ever before. You know, Marvin Harrison was famous for that. You know, you're going to have, you know, people trying to negotiate ownership in the franchise and all that, like Caleb Williams' team try to do. You're going to have the Jaden Daniels, jersey demand. You're going to have a lot of situations where just the NIL superstar and what comes with it. And again, that's the bed that you wanted to lay in, and guess what? You got to lay in it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And
Look,
we'll end on that show.
Everybody's an entity. The draft and the old way of doing football that was exploiting the players and treating them like cattle and people dropping these disparaging remarks to make a person drop in the draft. That's over, Leo. The players and the agents are empowered now, and so it's a right sizing of college sports and professional sports to a certain degree. Pros have it made because they have a collective bargaining agreement. College is still fighting a model that they know is the right way to go. They just don't want to do it. And they think that they want Congress to help them. And you know that Congress is not going to, because it's too much turmoil on both sides as they try to get that done. So, college football, NIL is here to stay. If these people really want a solution, they'll go the route of a collective bargaining agreement with the players and make them true partners.
And ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up another episode of the Real Lil Show, because the partner that I have right now is my bet, okay? Because guess what? I got work in the morning. All right. I'm not out of touch like these Odell Beckham Juniors and all these modern day NIL superstar athletes and professional athletes. I'm not out of touch. Guess what? I got work in the morning. Okay. I work hard for mine. Okay. And I'm not out of touch with reality. All right. And I don't believe my guy Lee is out of touch either. And again, Lee, you know, when you're talking about people, brother, sometimes you just got to give them 1 star, my brother. 1 star, you know, not 5, not 4, not 3. Not even 2. 1. Lee, the mic is yours. Feel free to plug yourself in.
Hey, always look out for After the Buzzer show with Lee Jones. Comes on Sundays. Check us out. Like, subscribe to my show. Keep watching the Real Lil Show. We do this. If you want real sports conversation, check out After the Buzzer show with myself, Lee Jones. Lil is a lot of times my co-host. And check out the Real Lil Show, because we're going to give it to you straight. You always are going to find out something you didn't know when you check us out. So keep tuning in.
Make sure you like and subscribe. Real talk, real content, real impact. We out.
Sports, politics, conspiracy theories. We are here to give you our unique perspectives on things happening in the world. It's the one and only, The Real Lil on The Real Lil Show.